Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tabletop Odyssey here. We've got yet another Malifaux crew unpack for us today. It is Malifaux 4th edition here, and this is the guild. This our second run around here, the last crew for our second run around, and it's the Augmented keyword with Charles Hoffman today. So we'll be wrapping right back around again to the start, to Neverborn next. So make sure to leave in the comments below who you want to see next. With that being said, let's get right into the video. So who is Charles Hoffman and why play Augmented? See, crossing into Malifaux was quite a big step for shy and crippled Charles Hoffman and his brother Ryle. He was a bit of an inventor, you see. He made himself this nice exo frame, I guess you could call it, he's wearing here, and he's worked his way up inside the guild to become the director of Amalgamation Charter Enforcement Office, which basically means we don't like mixtures of robots and other creatures. Now, in regards to his own inventions, he's rivaled even the notorious Victor Ramos in ingenuity and construct creation. But unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, his brother suffered an extraordinary condition called death, and he couldn't really save him. He even entrusted him to Ramos, who turned him into some kind of creature, a husk that, after a while, Charles understood wasn't really his brother anymore, even though it was his body. However, when the Burning Man came along, he then put effort into new constructs, which would come and replace his family. They were, of course, perfect, obedient, flawless, and predictable, unlike people. And despite his job to remove amalgamations, he can't help but think humanity should be a little bit more robotic himself, as we'll see in a bit. And as long as the guild keeps funding him, well, he'll keep working no matter what they say. He's sadly split from the Arcanist, who used to be a joint faction master last edition, but now he's decided to stick with the guild now that he's helped clear out Ramos's workshops. So he's on his own now. Now, why would you want to play Hoffman? Well, first, of course, maybe you're just one of those people who really love robots. I mean, after all, who doesn't? Robots are really cool, obviously. And maybe you're one of those people who's like, you think flesh is weak, because obviously it is. Why can't we all just turn ourselves into cool-ass cyborgs or something, right? You know? Ghost in the Shell and all that, other kind of cyberpunk ideals. Perfect setting for this. Absolutely. Maybe you really actually liked the, there's a Nightmare edition of this and a limited edition set, which basically looks exactly like Castlevania. Maybe you're a big fan of that. You want those spooky castles and your Black Knight charging on a horse there. That might be a cool aesthetic view. But either way, maybe you want a crew that is absolutely and utterly allergic to losing any health whatsoever. That's right, this guy is the king of staying alive. I don't think there's many other crews. I can think of maybe one or two who are maybe as sturdy as Hoffman, but he probably takes the cake for the hardest to kill in the entire game. So if you want to stick around, this might be the dude for you. Which brings us into the cards themselves. First of all, it's our first title, the Steel Sculptor, and their crew card, Tempered Steel. Now, this is a pretty solid crew card. It gives all of your augmented models 2 abilities and an action, which is pretty good. It's not limited to uniques. Basically, so once per activation, if you take damage, you can drain a Soul Stone to move 3 engaged shielded. This won't be used very often, but it's nice to have in the bag, I think. Especially if you just need to keep alive an extra activation or so to then heal back later. You've also got Optimized System. Now, this is probably the really important ability. When you've got shielded, you're going to be getting a positive to your tactical actions, which is really cool. And here you are, you've also got the Dual Power Source Signature, which everyone's going to get. And it doesn't cost a stone, thankfully. Give an ally, which could be yourself, but there's no why would you? Range 6, for a cost of 5, give the model that you target and yourself a shielded token. So obviously you want to target someone else, but if you can't reach anyone, just target yourself for shielded. Why would you do that? You could just prepare, but it is a signature, so yeah, something to weigh up. But it's a nice way of just getting shielded out on multiple people for a signature. It's really nice. There's also 3 tokens that you're going to be using quite a bit here. I know there's a few there, but 3 in particular. First of all is the shielded token. Obviously hands it out with the crew card and gives you positives. It's also going to be reducing damage for you. Really nice. You've also got haste, which is going to be improving movement. There's a couple of ways to handle that. And fast, giving you extra actions. Fantastic. Hoffman himself, the Steel Sculptor, he is really, really sturdy. He's got 5/6 defenses, 14 wounds, and armor, with a magnetic field as well to help you out. So after an enemy attacks this model and succeeds, you can drain a stone to have another ally take the damage instead, which is really good for keeping him alive. Don't forget there are also some models in here that just take the hit anyway, so Hoffman dying isn't very likely. And should some of your guys, remember it's friendly model here for Mechanical Genius, once per turn, if one of them takes a bit too much health, when they enter activation within 6, you can drain a stone to heal 4. This really comes in clutch just to get that healing. We're really, really good on missions like Recover Evidence, where you need to be in a brawl. As for the back of their crew card, first of all, we've got the Enhanced Fists, which is just a nice 3 damage punchy hap, which can give yourself shielded. And then the Static Discharge, which is a 10-inch magic attack with a raise of 3 to hand out stunned. Can move the target as well with either a trigger or a raise, which is really nice to just push them away from things. Ironically, really, you're probably not going to be using either of those because your tactical actions are already strong. Remember, you're getting a positive if you have shielded. The first of which is the Overload Shields. You can remove a shielded token from any model within 10. Doesn't even have to be an ally, I don't think. To increase the range of the target's pulse by 2. But either way, it's just a 10-inch. Enemy models within an inch of the target may pass 18 and 12 dual or be dealt 2 damage, with a nice trigger to make it 10, 15. So getting in those tomes will be really cool. Just a 5 to hand out a nice duel there. Pretty cool. And then you've got your signature, which you probably will spam. Other ally only for a cost of a 5 within 6 inches. You can't target the same model, but it's the target's going to heal too, which is obviously big when you've got so much armor and shielded in the crew. And then they get to declare an action. And if you drain a stone, you can give them fast as well, with some options to hand out hasted and heal extra as well. So this is just going to top your guys up, stop them from dying, and give them that extra ward, that extra interact, that extra attack. That's going to be really strong. And then if you want to pay a stone, there's so much efficiency here, because normally Command Steel is basically trading Hoffman's action for a heal and an action on them, but that fast allows you to basically get a 2-for-1 there, so I would be using my stones a lot for this. His totem is the Mechanical Attendant, and Mechanical Attendant is basically here to act as a heal bot as well. They have by your side, so they can just jump to any unique ally within 12 when it activates by discarding a card. That's really nice. Can also help if you want to push buttons, but that's really cool. And then most of their actions really is going to be spent on partial charge, targeting a construct, which is basically your entire crew, heals 2, and then you can drain a stone to give stunned out unresisted to a model they're engaged with. Depends how much you need to get stunned out, but stunned is really, really powerful, so worth a consideration, but the healing is just really good. You've also got a nice compact shotgun to spam out 2 damage with a pulse on the damage. That's alright. And then when they end your turn, you're going to splash out shielded. Remove your shielded to make schemes, which means this guy can just wander off if they need to and do some scheming. Nice solid little model there. Fun little boy. Your other title here is the Inventor, and they have the Ultimate Creation crew card. Now, I'm going to be very honest and upfront here. Steel Sculptor is a lot better of a title. I'm sorry. That being said, Inventor is still quite fun. He's very interesting in his design. So if you're just looking for a good time, maybe this is probably better for it, but still Sculptor is probably stronger overall. Now, Inventor here, he is all about constructing additional pylons. All of your models are going to get the Create Pylon tactical action, placing a pylon within 6, but not within 6 inches of another pylon, or in your deployment zone. It costs a stone. That's frustrating. So you're going to need a lot of stones available. And also you're going to really need to plan out where you want these pylons to be. Now, the pylons themselves, they are 40 mil, height 2 and blocking, and impassable. So they're good for handing out a bit of cover, really, which obviously adds to your defenses. But when they're removed, enemy models within 2 inches will have to pass a TN12 wall pile deal or gain stand. Handing out stand is, of course, fun, but you don't really want these removed because they come to the linked grid bar. And this basically does more depending on how many you've got. First of all, giving you +1 speed if you have 2 of them out. When you activate, you gain get to heal 1 on 3. For 4, you gain shielded. When you gain shielded, you can draw and discard, which is nice. And then 5, you get the positive on attack actions. It is a lot of work, though, to get 5 out. So, you're probably just going to be sticking at the 2 or 3 for most of the game, which is not the best. That being said, you have a lot of ways to hand out stunned in this variant, and stunned is going to limit your opponent's actions, which is great. Now, Inventor themselves, he's got slightly better defenses with the 6/6 and armor, and that's about it though. At 12 wounds, he's quite cool. Now, he's got amplified power here because he wants to be a bit more offensive as opposed to supportive, and that means when he empowers, he gains +1 to his duel as well. And then he's got arcing current, so once per turn, when a pylon is made not by on the enemy table half by not you, so probably basically from anyone using your crew card or from your totem, you can declare the electrical beam action, drawing range or line of sight from the marker. That's pretty cool. Shame, though, that the electrical beam is a flat 3 damage because it's magic, but it does ignore magic defense, which is really nice. The beam itself also has Siphon Life, so you can push it to damage 4 if need be, and can arc, which is lovely. You can also hand out Staggered, which is pretty cool, or move the target away. It's a nice magic attack, but it could be better. You also have a Construction Claw, which allows you to pick up and move enemies, and remove tokens from the target as well. That's kind of cool. Good on informants to pull people away from markers, I think. Nice to have. And then finally, your tactical action and signature is the Lay the Foundation. Make a pylon marker within range once per turn, not within 6 inches of deployment zone or another friendly pylon. And then it does a splash out to give stunned. Now, that's okay. It's good to create the pylon. Stunned, nice to have because it limits actions and shuts off triggers, but really you want to be doing this for the on-site trigger here to place into base contact, actually get you up the field, and then that's more actions you can spend smacking people. Now, his totem is the wonderful Edie Clark, not Eddie. This is a woman, not a man. Edie Clark. Grr. Edie Clark has the Power Link ability, which is honestly amazing. So when you have shielded, other allies within 4 gain a positive to attack actions. So really, do you need that many pylons, or could you just stand within 4 inches of Edie Clark and make sure that she's got shielded? That means just bundling up near Edie is going to be really important, especially if you've got any like guns and stuff. Grouping up together for those brawls and just focusing fire down enemies will be really cool. Edie herself, when she activates, she gains a shielded, so she doesn't even have to try to turn this on. She's pretty much always going to have that during her own activation. Shame that Power Link only affects other allies and not herself. Now, her attack action is a 2 damage, ignores magic defenses as well, and can push people. It's okay, nice to have. But really, it's going to be her tactical actions that are the start of the show. First of all, our new connections. Remove a target pylon marker, which will trigger its deal to do stunned. and then make another one within range. That's just a good way of basically repositioning your pylons and getting something out of it. And then finally, what you will be spamming, which is your signature action, is Overclock, 12-inch range, another allied construct. Can't target the same model, gives them haste, and they get an action, and potentially shielded as well. This is really good. Basically, a smaller version of what Steel Sculptor can do, but in this crew, just being able to hand out hastened instead of the healing, and then giving extra actions, trading your actions for someone else who, if they are, of course, within 4 inches, will have a positive, which is nice. Now, they're your title options, so moving on to the rest of the crew. Okay, Melissa Core here. Melissa Core is really cool. So she is an amalgamation, let's be honest. She used to be a marshal, and she was dying, and our good friend Charles Hoffman basically stuffed her personality into a soul stone and turned it into a robot. So she's essentially a ghost in the shell, which is one of her actions, which allows you, for a cost of a stone, you can target remains, remove the remains marker, hand out 2 healing to everyone within 3, and draw a card. Really nice to have for a stone. But Melissa's main job here is murder. She's got nice defenses, armor, and 12 wounds. And she has run and gun, so her guns can trigger off a charge. And her gun, Gatling gun, is a signature action. So you're basically going to be firing this 3 times if you can. If they don't have cover, it's on a positive, 2 damage. Not too bad, but you have the options for crit strike and quick reflexes, which are both really nice for getting extra attacks and damage out. You've also got a natural vigor to heal yourself, great, and riot rounds to not deal any damage, but to push them away, get them off points. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Good in both crews. Now, if she does happen to get stuck in combat and you really want to fire a gun, you can't. Well, you can just headbutt them in the face, deal 3 damage, and move them 3 inches away. Finally, she has the transfer power, also a signature tactical action, to target a friendly marker, remove it and make a copy, so that's going to be your pylons probably. And enemies within 2 inches must make TN12 speed or gain stun. So if you're removing a pylon, you can basically trigger that effect twice, which is pretty cool. Once when it's removed and then once when it's made. So a nice spreading of stun here. She's pretty cool. Nice cost 9 model to just pump out lead, really. Can't do much worse than that. The Peacekeeper is more about murder as well. They are 10 cost, beware. But they have a whopping 13 wounds and armor and impenetrable, so their shielded tokens reduce 2 instead of 1. They are a nightmare to get rid of. They also cannot be placed by other models, and if it would be moved by another model, it halves the distance, so it's great at holding points. Sadly, obviously, means you can't push it up the field quicker, but it is harder to remove from things like Informant's Marker where you want it to be. That being said, they are still pretty good at charging upfield with the Wrecking Ball tactical action, which basically is a charge, but even if engaged, ignores terrain and moves an additional plus 2 inches, which is great, so why wouldn't you, for the cost of a 4. Gives himself shielded on a ram, and for a stone, that trigger hit really good. You can unpack straight away, Wrecking Ball through your entire crew, because you've got a 50 mil base, right? Clip everyone and give them all shielded for the cost of a stone. That sounds amazing. Their attacks are also really good. You're going to harpoon them, 2 damage, 12-inch range, pull them towards you. You've got that inbuilt to remove a shielded token and declare it again. So you drag them towards you, and then Heavy Claws, which is your signature action, to pummel them to pieces. Nice execute trigger there to drain their resources, piercing to ignore physical armor, and of course peace by any means. So once per activation, spend a stone, and it becomes a 4 damage attack, giving out stunned. Now that is what I call effective murder. Now, after your enemies are nice and tender, we can move on to the rest of the crew. starting with the Clipper. Now, I really like Clipper because despite the fact that they're quite expensive, Clipper is zoomy, which a lot of this crew isn't, and he's really important to getting upfield. He does still have armor and 6 defense, but that 4 willpower is a bit suspect. But they have flight, which is really good, and fly with me to pick up an ally on a raise. So that is for an 11. You can pick up an ally and take them with you, which is a pretty nice 4-inch place on a 50mm base. You can just hit the explosive entrance enemy models within 2 inches of the target, may toss a TN11 duel or be dealt 2 damage. You can target someone even if they're not within range to take them with you as well. That's worth considering. TN12 is a bit low though, but it could do some damage. But really, this guy is amazing for some other things apart from scheming. First of all is Up We Go, which, as we know, places targets within 3 inches, which is amazing for pushing people off objectives, pushing them away from bombs, informants, and so on. Really good. Oh, and obviously, Up We Go. This guy can, by himself, within 1 action, score, make it look like an accident, which is a scheme, by placing them on top of a building and then using the knock aside, or even the daze trigger, so it's 50% chance there, really, to kick them back off again. Yay! And if that wasn't enough, you have a nice 3 damage gun, which hands out staggered from 10 inches away, which is fantastic, and can make a scheme marker anywhere between this model and the target. That's amazing. So they're an anti-schemer and a big schemer themselves, and help that Unpack. Really solid model with some nice damage on them too. On to your minions now. First of all, I don't know why that says Watcher. We've got the Guardian. The Guardian is really cool for 7 cost. Now, it's probably worth taking one of these in most scenarios just because they're good at keeping your other guys alive. They have 9 wounds, 6 defense, armor, bodyguard, so they're handing out cover as well, and take the hit, so once per activation, they can take that damage instead. Amazing. And of course, with all the healing in this crew, they don't really care too much, so they can take the damage and you just heal them up later. They also have Impassioned Defense as a tactical action and signature to hand out shielded. With a nice I've got your back trigger, so if you have an engaged ally, they can just bamf 8 inches up the board to them, and then shield slam them in the face with their other signature, which is stat 7, giving yourself shielded and moving the target away as well. Lovely little melee attack. And then you've got the Claymore as well, which is a nice little stabby stab to deal 3 damage if they're not engaged with you. Pretty cool, with sweeping strike as well. So if you get a couple of raises on this, you could be doing quite a few damage to groups. Really solid defensive piece here. Just taking it straight for take the hit, and bodyguard is going to make everyone even more durable than they already are. Fantastic. Loving it. On to the Hunter. So the Hunter is a bit more of a schemer. A bit hybrid between a schemer and a scheme hunter, probably. They have armor, like basically everything here. They've got Don't Turn Your Back, so they're turning on enemy interactions, they turn them off, and then Deadly Pursuit is really nice to get an extra 4-inch movement, which you might need to get yourself in position for next turn. They've got a Natural Speed, which is a nice place for your 50mm base. Which means that they can do a little bit of scheming themselves. And then they've got 2 actions, the Harpoon Gun, obviously pulling them towards with a crit strike, nice, and I like the wind to move this model 5 inches, amazing. And then this Metal Claws, so it's basically a mini Peacekeeper here. If you kill something though, you gain fast, which is pretty cool, so yeah, just basically a weaker Peacekeeper with a little bit more mobility to it. It's a nice model, definitely worth considering for 6. Then you've got the Watchers. Now these guys are cheap, which means you can have a lot of them quite easily, and they're good to put down pylons with or use your crew card with, because they're so cheap. But also, these guys are supposed to be your main schemers. They have flight, 7 speed, and a leap, 6-inch leap, which is really nice as a signature, but it is a TN of 9, so that's quite difficult to get. You might want to keep cards in hand to cheat with. But it is a positive on your skill, and if you are playing Steel Sculptor and it's got shielded, you'll at least have a double positive, but it's quite annoying, quite a high TN to lead with, probably because it's so cheap. It's also got a Sonic Blast to deal damage to people. You won't use this. This guy's a schemer. And if you're using crew card, nice to have. Yeah, pretty cool, fun little model. Which brings us on to out of keyword and versatile models. Obviously, I'm picking two here to offer, and I think, honestly, you can pick them both up in the same box. It's the box formerly known as the Guild Starter Set. Comes with those nice little tokens and measuring stick as well. These guys just synergize really well. First of all, it's Commander Bura. She costs 7, has hard to kill, 6 willpower, 5 defense. But she's got a nice little ability here called Under My Protection, so when she activates, she can give shielded to a friendly model within 6, could be herself or someone else, which obviously, especially in Steel Sculptor, is going to power people up. She has a little sword that no one cares about, and a nice magic attack here to do 2 damage against speed, interestingly. And if she receives a raise, she gets shielded. But the really important things here are the Confusion for staggered, the Sweeping Strike to deal damage to another enemy, and of course the Stone Trigger to deal a damage to models within 2 inches. That's fun. Nice little thing. You've got some use out of that though. The tactical actions are probably better though. First of all, you've got the Expanding Influence. So she can target an ally or friendly minion. Thankfully, you've got a lot of minions in this crew. And within 6, and moves them 4 inches towards a friendly model. That's just really nice to help with the unpack. You aren't the quickest crew, naturally, so it's good to have some way to push people upfield. But really, Marlowe's finest is where she's going to be best. And if you've got rams in hand to fund this, even better. Targets a friendly, removes a shielded token, they heal 1. Always good. And if you did remove a shield token, you can declare an action. You will be removing shielded tokens, you're going to have them all the time. And then if you've got that ram, you give them the shielded back, which is amazing. So once again, she acts like that little obey piece, hand out a little bit of healing, and orders allies around, getting the most out of people like Peacekeeper, PK, Malifaux, Clipper, getting the most out of them. Remember, it says friendly only, it's not controlled by this model, so you can use it on masters as well, which is really cool. Then you've also got the Battering Rams here. I mean, I'd take the whole box if I could, really. Battering Rams are nice and cheap point holders, though. If you're thinking about, like, summoning informants, you want to be upfield, maybe you don't know who to leave behind on a home objective, well, the Battering Ram is right there for it. They're resilient, and amongst the rubble can reduce damage dealt to them if they reduce a non-scheme marker, like a pylon or destructible terrain. They can reduce damage. They've also got a very, very weak attack. Yeah, that can hand out shielded to themselves on Ram. But really, if you're taking these guys, it's because they cost 3, and they have Take the Fight to them to hand out Hastened, which is, of course, going to help your guys get up the board that little bit quicker. Obviously, a really nice thing to have. Yeah, nice little cheap little point. They probably won't be used a lot. They'll just be preparing a lot and handing out Hasten to allies, but it's nice to have in the grand scheme of things. Okay, on to the best part of the video. It's the Tactica. First of all is the Steel Sculptor, and if it wasn't already obvious, giving shielded out to everything is going to make things really, really easy. Obviously, as I say, you want it on at all times. Having Peacekeeper just wrecking ball through the crew, applying it to everyone straight away for a stone, really effective use of it. Obviously the crew card, and there's a few other ways, hands out shielded pretty easily. Mechanical Genius, the Attendant, Command Steel, things like that. They're going to help people keep topped up, so even if you do take damage and burst that shielded, you've got armor, and the healing's just going to keep you right up to full, which means you guys are never going to die. And you've got Command Steel, and obviously Bura's Marlowe's Finest. These guys are going to be able to give extra actions to all of your things like your beaters and your schemers. Get those extra interacts, those extra moves that you need. Obviously beat up enemies. Always fun. So in regards to scheming though, obviously you want to keep those 9s in hand just in case for the Watchers. I know they're getting a positive and a double positive on a shielded, but 9's quite hard if you want to leap, so sometimes you might be worth just considering Hunters. It's a smaller place, but you know, they do have a large base, so it might get them somewhat upfield and able to keep scheming. Something to consider whether you want to go with the cheaper one but needing better cards, or a more expensive model. You can obviously hand out fast as well, quite easily, for a cost of stones, for example, so keep those to hand, especially if you need extra actions, which means this crew is quite efficient. With all those extra actions and that fast, they all add up together. Lots of buffs, shielded, hasten, fast, really smashes smashes face. And then obviously Guardians, if you just keep them around anyone you want to keep alive, they're going to be taking the damage for them, and you can just focus on healing Guardians up instead. Really, really nice. This is a really tanky crew, a really efficient crew. I think they're good at pushing buttons, they're good at a brawl, they're a very good generalist crew overall, and probably one of the best titles in the entire faction. That being said, Inventor, on the other hand, a little bit worse, but they are a little bit more focused. I think Informants is probably the best place for Inventor overall, or maybe Recover Evidence, because they've got those, they're a bit more aggressive with their actions. But placing pylons in the right place is obviously going to be really important. You can't place them within 600 deployment zone. You've got to map out exactly where you want them, using fast models like the Watchers or Clipper to choose the best places to put those pylons down, but also keeping those pylons out of really easy range of your opponent to move is also going to be quite important, unless of course it's going to be one you want to strip out to hand out stunned. Speaking of that, Melissa can do it as well, so that she's going to be spamming stunned all over the place. Hoffman himself is going to be handing out stunned, and stunned, while the other title focuses a lot more on buffing your own crew, this one debilitates the opponent whilst buffing yourself, which is really cool. Now remember, the pylons are great, but you really want that positive to attack action and that filter when you gain shielded. So you really want 4 to 5. If you're just going to have 2, you might as well just bring a Battering Ram and hand out haste, right? Because it's not that effective. Now, of course, lane pylons do get Inventor those extra attacks per turn, but it can be quite pricey. They do cost stones for everyone other than Edie, who's really just replacing one, and Charles themselves. And Edie is arguably more important to keep around than Hoffman, because she's got that bubble to give a positive to hit. So everyone really wants to just like stick a couple of Guardians next to her, and just like keep her safe at all times, and then she's going to be handing out Overclock for more actions and just getting the best BT out. You're going to operate as a bigger bubble in this crew than you possibly would in the other title. You want to be really close together. Now, in order to keep people close together, you need people to pull between them, and using things like harpoon guns on PK and your hunters will be able to do that. You also have, between the Construction Claw and Clipper, you've got some good displacement to pick people up and just throw them away from markers like Informants. And of course, the harpoon guns can pull people towards you, so they can take people away from markers that they're on, and into your death ball. But of course, just be wary that if the opponent's going to remove pylons, while it may hit them for stunned, can be detrimental if you're relying on things that the pylons provide to achieve your objectives. So just keep a wary eye on those sorts of things. Now we have come to the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please give us a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more Malifaux content. I'm at the end of the second cycle, as I mentioned at the start of the video, so we're going back around again to do our third set. I'm really enjoying the engagement that I've had so far. Let's keep it up, and I will see you next time. This has been Tabletop Odyssey.